realize that there might be some folks among us here today who wonder why I, a faith leader, along with other faith leaders here today, are speaking out about what looks to be a very secular legal issue. Well, that's true. I am not an expert in the technical distinctions between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant. I don't know all the rules and regulations that govern this courthouse. I wasn't present that day, and I have no first-hand knowledge of the facts of this case. But let's be clear. If we had an administration that cared about the facts of this case and the rule of law, we wouldn't be here today. What we have is an administration that seems intent on acting like a bully, seeking to incite fear and division by engaging in strong-arm tactics and trampling on our civil rights. The U.S. Constitution guarantees due process for every resident of this country, not just citizens. And this courthouse needs to be a place where everyone who lives in Milwaukee County can come to make their case and be heard. And when the FBI and ICE swoop in and ignore our fundamental freedoms, we need to stand strong and we need to stand together. Judge Dugan was simply doing her job, putting herself on the line to protect the rights and freedoms that we all hold dear. So we need to stand with her. And we need to stand with all who are committed to making this country a place of safety, dignity, respect, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. And I'll invite former U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District of Wisconsin, Jim Santel.
Thank you, Bishop. We are gathered today to talk about judges. It is significant to note that 11 days ago, a judge named Harvie Wilkinson, he is of the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, those are the mid-Atlantic states in our nation, issued a recommissioning of what we are about in America, restating what James Madison said 238 years ago, a document that should be read not only by every American, but also should be taught in civics classes in high schools and colleges and universities. He was resolving an issue before him and other panel members that had come up based upon the deportation of a singular Maryland gentleman out of this country. Judge Wilkinson wrote this. He said the basic differences between the branches of the federal government mandate a serious effort at mutual respect. The respect that courts must accord the president must be reciprocated by the president's respect for the courts. Too often today, Judge Wilkinson wrote, this has not been the case, as calls for the impeachment of judges, for decisions the president disfavors, and exhortations to disregard court orders sadly illustrate. What is Judge Wilkinson talking about? He's talking about the fact proceedings in other federal district courts around this country. Let me name and describe for you 3 of them. For the past 6 weeks in a United States District Court in the District of Columbia, our nation's capital, a judge, the chief judge, named James Boasberg, has attempted mightily to secure basic information from your Department of Justice, from your Attorney General, from the federal lawyers who serve on your behalf, to get information about 238 deportees to El Salvador. Your government, your Attorney General, my Department of Justice, for which I worked for 30 years, has refused to tell Judge Boasberg anything of material significance about any of that, prompting Judge Boasberg to say, just in recent days, that your United States government is acting in bad faith. And he is within inches today, as he has been in recent days, to finding the United States Department of Justice in contempt of court. In another court in Maryland, Judge Paula Zinnes, who, yes, has been presiding over the case involving Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, has likewise described the conduct of the agency for which I worked for 3 decades as being willful and bad faith refusal to provide her with information and basic substance about what has happened to this former resident of the United States of America. And she too is within moments of finding the United States government in contempt of court. Even more recently, 5 days ago, another judge named Stephanie Gallagher, she is also in Maryland. She has identified yet another individual, just as Christian, and she has described the actions of your government, my Attorney General, my President, as being in violation of a court settlement with respect to his status here in the United States of America. She too, like Judge Boasberg and like Judge Zinnes, is on the road to finding that the conduct of the attorneys who serve on your behalf is in violation of basic standards of the rule of law and undermining and abrogating their oath of office. To date, the response of my Attorney General, Pamela Bondi, of my President, Donald Trump, and of others in government has been to say to these judges, Judge Boasberg, Judge Zinnes, and yes, most recently to Judge Gallagher, the answer, judges, is no. I will not do that. We will not do that. And they're sending the attorneys into those courts, places of justice, the federal courts in this country on your behalf, declining to tell those judges the information that they need to make rational and reasonable and balanced decisions about how we apply the Constitution of the United States of America to people in our land. There are other federal judges around the country who have done the same, who have also approached that point at which they are about to say that this administration, this president, and other members of the executive branch are not only in contempt, but are violating the basic standards by which the judiciary works. Senator Carpenter, it is a constitutional crisis. We have passed that point, and although it is significant to name it as you have, appropriately, for all Americans, including all of us gathered here today in this wonderful, amazing place we call Milwaukee, this spectacular state we call Wisconsin, it is important, yes, indeed, Senator, to name it as that, but that doesn't get us to the point we need to get to. It doesn't answer the fundamental questions about what do we do next when we have a president, my president, who is indeed, as Judge Wilkinson has said, calling for the impeachment of judges, not on any legitimate basis under our Constitution, but rather on the basis that he does not agree with the decisions they make. And he is engaged in name-calling with respect to them. We have an Attorney General, my Attorney General, who has not just wiped away the arm's-length relationship that necessarily has existed for well over 200 years between the White House and the Department of Justice when it comes to making specific referrals for criminal prosecution. She has invited the 2-3 times in which this president has told the Attorney General that he wants to see investigated and arguably prosecuted in federal courts specific individuals, contrary to 2 centuries of tradition of presidents of your history. And she has also said that those unelected judges, federal judges, have no power. The judges she has identified include Judge Boasberg and Judge Zinnes and Judge Gallagher. No power to tell us what the law is. That decision, that milestone was made in the early part of the 19th century when a previous Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court said, it is decidedly the purview of the judiciary to tell us what the law is. And my Attorney General has rejected that notion. There is another representative of this administration. He is the border czar. His name is Tom Homan, who has said, we're coming. We don't care what judges say. And all of that is a part of this, not just contempt, not just the constitutional crisis, but quite literally the fraying, the destruction of the very fundamental systems by which our country has been established. And so what do? Every single person who's spoken here today has been asked that same question. What do we do? What do we do in response to all of this? Well, indeed, once again, we go back to what Judge Wilkinson has said 11 days ago. He said this: "Now the branches come too close to